Hi folks, welcome back. It's Lynn with PFM Arts. Do you have gutted books that you don't know what to do with? Do you have things that come in the mail that you don't want or need because I don't have children this young? Do you have these things? I have a lot of these things and I feel really guilty about throwing them away. So I thought to myself, you could make some bows out of these things. What if you did that? So apparently I'm on a bow making kick right now. I thought that I was only going to do 4 of the bow making videos, but I said, you know what? This is a really great use for these, especially with holiday time approaching. And a lot of places, I know Amazon put out one. This happens to be Walmart's toy catalog, you know, like the old Sears catalog and the JCPenney catalog. Why don't we put these things to use? Because otherwise they're just going to go in the trash. So what I did, number one, is I went ahead and, excuse me for reaching, I went ahead and cut some of the Reader's Digest pages, and I cut 2 pages out of the Walmart toy book. Now, this Reader's Digest book, let me get a measurement on it. Where is my ruler? It is here. Ruler. This was about 7 1/4 inches tall. So if you remember the other bows that I made in the previous 4 videos, I started off with paper that was, well, I cut it down to 9 1/2. So the outside went 9 1/2, and then 8 1/2, and then 7 1/2, and then the loop in the middle. So I'm starting off at 7 1/2 here, and those ones I had cut at 1/2 inch, but I thought maybe I would just make a smaller, more compact bow. So I decided to cut the Reader's Digest book at 1/4 inch instead. So we're starting out at 7 1/2 in height. Now I started cutting, and I cut off two slices at 1/2 inch. I said 1/4 inch. Wait a minute. How wide is this? Did I do 1/2 inch? Yeah, I did 1/2 inch. That's right, because I was working with larger ones last time. Right. So I cut off, so correction, these are cut at 1/2 inch. I cut the Walmart one at 1 inch, and I'll get into that later. So, all right, so this one, here we go. So I started cutting, and I cut it off 2 slices. And then I said, you know what? It would be really cute to stamp. Why don't I go ahead and stamp it before I continue cutting? So I got out one like floral decor kind of stamp, and I got my Distress Oxide. For this one, I used the Fired Brick. You can use obviously whatever color you want, but I said, you know, it's holiday time. Let's use a red. That would be good. So I cut these all down, and literally this is what I have left over, which is basically nothing. And to be perfectly honest, this is probably going to go in my giant bag of whenever I get around to making paper. But this is all that's left, and honestly, I wouldn't feel guilty about throwing this away either. So let's get started on this. So if you watched the other videos, what you do is you need, I'm going to use the stapler because I like this one the best, as opposed to any of the other methods that I used in the previous 4 videos. So I'm going to use the same thing. And I have my double-sided tape here. So I'm going to go ahead and get a small piece off. This is probably, I don't know, I guess probably about 1/2 inch, maybe 1/4 inch. And I showed you how to do this before, but in case you didn't get that first video, so this is what you do, and this is starting off at about 7 1/2 inches long, going this way. So you can just make a loop, and then you're going to twist said loop until it basically forms a kink in the middle. So I'm going to take this tiny piece of double-sided tape, get in there. You can use glue dots. I don't know if you could really use, I don't think I would want to use like a wet glue in this project, simply because it's not going to dry. Okay, so you got that. And then you're going to find about the halfway point. And you have a couple of options here. You can either go ahead and put yourself a piece of the tape in between these two to secure it down, or you can hold it and then come back and staple it. I'm not going to do that because I do not want to hold this. The other thing to point out is that unlike the other one that I did before where I stamped the paper, I decided to stamp both sides of it this time. And after I did it, I thought to myself, man, that would have been kind of cool if I would have done one side in the red and then maybe the other side in a green or some other color just to kind of give it another layer of contrast. But I didn't. But that would be something that you could do, or maybe something that I will do later. So I'm going to take another small piece of tape, and I'm going to try to find, so I want this one on the bottom, I don't want it sticking up on the edges. So I'm going to try to find the center of the other piece of tape where the two overlapped, and basically just make a stack. And then I'm going to glue this down. So the other thing to look at on here is, number one, is it about even on both sides of the tape? And then number two thing to look at is, do you want a more pointy bow? So you just close it up and make it more parallel. So you see how that got pointy on the end and this got pointy on the end? Or do you want it more round like that? So I think I'm going to do mine like this. So I'll go ahead and peel off this side and not stick that down just yet. Get in there. Stop fighting with me. There we go. It looks like about the center. So I'll go ahead and do this one more time at regular speed, and then I'll speed it up for the rest of them. So I think I'm going to try to make 4 for the outside, and that's what I'm working on now, the outside of the bow. And a good way to find the middle that I've found is to fold the paper in half and then just give yourself a little crease in the middle. So then when you come back to actually put the middles together to form your figure 8, you already know where the middle is. Okay, so that would be, okay, so I put my little piece of tape on the end, and then I would normally come over and just make a loop, but we don't want a loop, we want a figure 8. So I'm going to just turn it once and stack it on top of itself, like that. Boop. Okay, and now another tiny little piece of tape so we can put the middle to the bottom side. So I'm going to find the bottom side again, the place where it overlapped, where we just put the other piece of tape. And I'm going to make a stack, and this goes on the inside, not the outside. That one ran over, but that's okay. Just going to go ahead and fold that guy down just a little bit. Here's the middle. And of course, it's not going to be the exact middle because because it overlapped a little bit, but it'll be close enough. Okay, so there's that. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do 2 more of these, and I'll go ahead and fast forward this, and we'll be right back to do the next level. All right, so I have my 4 bottom pieces down here. I may only use 3. And if you notice, one of them is, this part is going the wrong way. And that's because I only went around like a half a time instead of a full time. But it'll be fine. It'll all come out in the wash. And I mean, come on guys, these are bows. Like, they're not going to be around forever. We're basically just reusing. Next. So that's going to be my bottom layer, and actually I'm going to just put these over here. Yep. And now I need to do 3, but I need to have them an inch shorter. Definitely could cut these, but I am definitely not interested in actually figuring out where exactly an inch is. I will give kind of a measurement. Yeah, okay, right about there. I'm going to take about an inch off, so these are going to be about 6.5 now instead of 7. And you could cut this flush, but it's not going to matter because when you make your twisted loop, this is going to go together and nobody's going to see it anyway. So same thing again. So I will put this portion on fast forward. Okay, so I got my 3 done, which I was thinking would be the middle section, but now that I look at it, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit. I don't know, maybe I can. because that looks crazy small. Let's see what happens, actually. I'm really curious. So the first one was the first layer, so the bottom layer, the outside layer, was 7.5. And I cut this layer, down to 6.5. So this layer I need to cut down to 5.5. So I'm basically just taking off 1 inch the more layers that I go, I guess, up in this case, to the center of the bow. Let's put it like that. So about 2 inches is going to be right about there. Tear that guy off. Okay, and I'm going to attempt to do this with this 5.5 inch section here. I don't know if it's going to work. Let's find out. And this tape job, I didn't say this before, but the tape is just as a temporary hold. It's not that you're securing the bow with the tape. You're basically just securing the loops and then coming back with the stapler, or that's been my preferred method. Coming back with a stapler and then just securing them all together. So if your tape ends up a little wonky or you don't get held down as well as you would like, just move on. It's fine. It'll all come out. Okay, as if your tape gets off your finger. Okay, there we go. So I'm using Nitto tape. There it is. Nitto tape. Why am I using Nitto tape? Because I got it at a thrift store. And this is actually a very, very large roll of tape. I've been working on this same roll of tape for a couple of months now. And I don't think it's shrunk in the least. But I mean, it's good tape. It's sticky. It does what I want it to do. I do not know if it's photo safe. It's probably not. But definitely for this project, we don't care about photo safe. Alright, and then one more to go. I'm actually really excited about using up some of these book pages, and I really do like the idea of stamping on the book page. So if that's something that you guys want to do, would definitely recommend go ahead and stamping. Why do you not want to get in there? Sometimes they fight with you. It's fine. There. Just fight back. What was I saying? Right. So I'm really happy about using up the book pages. Right. And the advice is that if you are intending on using a book page, since you already have a flat surface, just go ahead and stamp it. Especially if you're looking at a design where you just kind of just want some color on something and not necessarily interested in what portion of the design showing up. I stamped strips individually last time in one of the videos because I already had them cut into strips from another project, so I just stamped them individually. But it was definitely, and you know, that helped with the placement of the stamp, because obviously I could get the stamp exactly where I wanted it on the strip of paper. But if you're doing something like this, like, it's just way easier just to go ahead and stamp it before you cut it. All right, so let's see here. All right, so this is my bottom piece. I'm going to go ahead and assemble this thing. So I'm basically just trying to tuck all these pieces in here. I think I only need 3. I made 4, and this is the one that I messed up on, but I think I only need 3. I don't think I can fit a 4th one in here just because of the size. So here is the next part, and as I'm layering this, so these two stuck together, so they live there now. But as I'm layering this, I'm trying to put the next layer in there so it's not, it's hard to explain this, so it's not exactly lined up. So this point isn't like here, because I think it looks nicer if it's just slightly offset. And you know, some of them will, like this one's almost kind of lining up, and that one just wants to hide for whatever reason. Okay, and then I need to get this one in here, and you're gonna go here. All right, this might be too full. I'm gonna try though, because I haven't used this size and I haven't used this paper, obviously. Okay, I think that's it. So I used 3. I made that loop a little too fat. 3 of these strips at 7.5, 3 of these strips at 6.5, and I only used 2 of these at 5.5. So Here is where the magic happens. You find your, I like the tiny attacher or any type of small stapler, but you do have to kind of work it into the center, and I'm just going to put a staple right in the middle of this, like so. Okay, that worked out. And then I'll just fluff my bow back up, and then you say, but wait, what about the center? It looks naked. And I say, yes, I know it does. So you take one of these little offcut pieces that you had, and you're going to make a little loop. And then you're going to smush the loop in the center. So I'm going to take some double-sided tape, and I'm going to put this here. And then I'm going to make a little tiny loop. Hopefully I have enough room to do this. Look at me trying to use up scraps. Okay, definitely want to try to get these guys lined up. If your tape overhangs a little bit, that's okay. And one more tiny little piece right here. I'm going to put this on the bottom of where these, all right, well, if you just want to be on my finger, then be on my finger, of where those two met up, because I want that to be on the bottom of the bow, not the top. I mean, you could. I think it'd just look nicer if it wasn't. And I'm going to put this, I probably should have made this just a little bit bigger, my loop in the center. And I'm just going to squish that down, like that. Okay, that's not bad. So, to make this easy for application onto a package or some other decoration, you can just take two pieces, a little bit longer, maybe 3/4 of an inch long. Okay, that's not what's supposed to happen. Does that must mean my fingers are really dry. Okay. And you just run two pieces right here on the back, so when you get ready to use it, you just pull up that other side of double-sided tape, and there you go. Not too shabby. Like I said, could have done a little bit better job on, like I said in the beginning, keeping these things even with points or no points, but not too bad. I think I probably ended up using up maybe 1 or 2 book pages, not very much. So, I mean, this is like, if you get your pieces cut, this is an easy couch craft, like I was saying last time. Okay, so I'm going to use this one, and we'll see how this goes. So I cut out 2 pages from the Walmart book that I showed you earlier. And I definitely started off using a very dull blade. Also, I used my craft knife and a cutting mat to cut these out. But I saved this because I end up ripping off some of the ends anyway when I'm starting to get closer to the middle. So I'll scoot that over here. And out of curiosity, because this is something that we need to know, how long are these strips? Oh, these are 9.5. Okay, so this is the same length that I used before with those other papers, but I think these are a bit thicker. Not thicker, wider. And this is actually thinner paper. The only thing that I'm kind of concerned about on this one is, so there was pictures of children on here, and I think it's going to look really weird if one of the end pieces has like a half a face on it. I think it's just going to look weird, but let's see what happens, because who knows. All right, so I'm going to start the same way that I did with the other one. I think I'm going to make, I don't know how many I'm going to make. I'm trying to think what would make sense. All right, so same way, twisty, twisty, and then smushy. Okay, and okay, that makes a big fat one. So I think I'm going to go 3, 3, and then 3. We'll see if that works. All right, so I'm going to continue on, and I'll be right back. Actually, I'm just going to fast forward this part. All right, so what I was doing, sorry, I should have started talking again. So what I was doing is I'm just seeing how full this outside portion is, and since I made these so wide, this outside portion is honestly really full with just 3 of these. So that's what I kind of thought was going to happen, so that's why I stopped at 3 to check. So I think, I don't know how many I'm going to be able to get in the next layer. I'm going to try 3. So I'm going to do the same thing as before. I'm going to take off about 1 inch, which is about that much because that's what I cut off last time. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and do 3 of these. I don't know if it's going to work though. And as you're doing this, if you guys want to, if you're doing this with some of the mailers that come in, like, you could obviously totally stamp in it just like I did with the Reader's Digest one. But also, if you have, you know, one design on the front that you like better than on the back side of the paper, you know, just, you know, be advised of that and turn it that way that makes sense, where it's showing more. If there is if you have a preference for that. There we go. I don't know why I'm so tongue-tied today. Maybe it's not a good day for a video. Alright, so back to fast forward, and I will just continue doing this. Okay guys, so I did 3 of them, and I didn't say this either, but as I'm folding them, I actually decided that since these are so wide, the strips, that I should probably do a pointier end so that the bow still looks full. And I'm really not sure about this middle piece here. Maybe I'll only get 2 in the middle, maybe none. I don't know. So I'm gonna rip off. This was my 2-inch piece that I ripped off from before. 2-inch piece right here. I don't know why I thought that this magazine, I probably shouldn't magazine, the circular, whatever you want to call it. I was thinking that it was longer than 9.5, and that's why I thought maybe making it wider than whatever I had before. Because again, I was using scraps before, and I didn't measure to see how wide they were. And I was like, oh, I could probably go a little bit wider and just, you know, make like a larger bow. I mean, obviously not that large. That'd be a little bit ridiculous. I wonder if I could make a large bow. Now that I think about it. I mean, probably you can. I mean, I would just say that, I mean, you would need to have longer paper and using, all right, so using what, trash, like whatever comes in the mail. Maybe you could just like Scotch tape it together or something like that just to make longer strips, because I think that would be the key is the longer strips. But like a newspaper would give you longer strips, or, you know, sometimes you get those circulars in the mail that come, you know, like a long sheet of newspaper, and it's just like folded in half, and it's, you know, advertising whatever it's advertising. Usually it has the coupons inside of it too. I mean, that would work. Why not? Who cares if it's newspaper? I mean, your hands are going to be gross afterwards, but honestly, let's be honest, or let me be honest. I'm not going to speak for you. Anytime that I'm in the craft room, I'm definitely getting dirty. Especially on my, like, look at my hands. Like, literally all I did was just ink this and cut these. Like, there's absolutely no reason to look like this. Okay, time to stack. I think I'm only going to get 2 in the middle of this. Yeah, it's just going to be too full with 3, and then I'll just do a big loop in the middle. All right, so this was my base right here. This is the bigger one. I'm just going to stack. Since it's only 3, this should be fairly easy for me. That's probably not going to be easy for me. Nothing's easy. To offset these like that. And then with this one, oh man, this is very, very poofy. Like, I'm not mad about it. I'm just kind of trying to keep them lined up in the center, so when I come in with my stapler, it'll catch them all. Catch all of the layers. Okay, actually that looks pretty good. Okay. Remember I was talking about having like some kid staring back at you, depending on how you line things up. I don't know if you guys can see him, but he's right underneath my thumb. It's very, very creepy, but he's going to get covered up by the... Sorry, kid, for stapling you in your face. Boop. Okay. Yeah, look. Creepy. Okay. All right. That's not too bad, right? Not too bad of a bow out of trash. And honestly, I don't really need to have that loop in the middle, but I'm going to put one anyway, considering how full this thing is. Let me see. I actually don't need it. Okay, so I don't need to have a loop in the middle if you make them really, really thick. That's really cool. Okay, so here's a trash. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. How am I going to put it on the package? Well, I got a little bit off center. It's okay. It's still held together. And one more right here. That looks nice. I like the colors in it. Honestly, I do. That turned out better than what I was expecting. So this one ended up being about, let me do it this way, go from point to point, about 4.5 wide. So a little bit wider than the other bows that we had. And this one, definitely should have made that loop in the middle look bigger. I was just trying to be chintzy with my trash paper. This is about 2.5 wide. But isn't that cute? I love this. I could do this all day. I might do this for the rest of the day. Okay, guys, hope you got some good ideas. Hope you are able to recycle some of your stuff like I'm doing. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Wait a minute. Trailer edition. I just had another thought, and I'm not going to do another bow segment for a while. But I thought, instead of worrying about keeping your edges straight with one of these knives, what if you tore the paper instead? Why? Because tearing is so much fun. So much fun. Let me get one of my tearing rulers. I got this tearing ruler at the Dollar Tree. Be advised, the edges are super sharp, and this will probably definitely cut somebody. Whoops, here, this. Okay. I'm just curious if this will tear nicely. I'm not measuring either. Let me see. Does this tear nicely? Ooh. Yeah. And you end up with an edge like this, and it's almost like you cut it. It's just not as crisp. Let me get one of the edges that I cut with the that thing. Like it's literally about the same. I mean, that's a little jagged, but tear it. It's so much fun. Okay, bye.